Rusty Brown is a 2019 graphic novel by the American author-artist Chris Ware. Originally circulated in self-contained installments over a period of 20 years, its collection into a single volume was intended as the first of two parts, with the second still to come. Ware was born in Nebraska in 1967 and he began producing comic art in the early 1980s. Since then, he's won a variety of prestigious awards, and nowadays he's generally regarded as a master of the medium. Rusty Brown is a book that doesn't really have a main character. It's set in Nebraska and it begins in the mid-1970s in a school. Rusty Brown is a small boy who is bullied by the other children and who has a fixation on Supergirl. His father, Woody, teaches at the school, but he has very little time for his son and his marriage seems unhappy. When he was young, he fell in love with a woman he met at work, but it was a one-sided relationship in which she alternately dumped him and then reconciled with him for sex. Jason Lynch is one of the school's many bullies, and we get his entire life story, which ends in self-inflicted isolation and embitterment. Finally, we get most of the biography of Joanna Cole, the novel's main unconditionally good character, who, because she's black, continually suffers the effects of racism, and whose immediate family members, a dependent mother and a sister, seriously undervalue her. In some ways, the novel ends happily for Joanna. I won't say how, but the crucial event comes out of the blue without seeming contrived. If Rusty Brown has an overall theme, it's the way in which people often torture themselves and others and the mischances that incurs. Ware himself appears in the book as a frustrated art teacher with an ambition to produce heroic and representational art, which achieves an intuitive transcendence of culture and corpus. It's an unflattering self-portrait, but maybe it's what he could have been had he missed his chances. So, on an optimistic reading of the book, maybe we make our own luck, and the characters are trapped in a Nebraskan dungeon, partly of their own making. Not all critics share that optimism. In a 2019 review for Slate magazine, Isaac Butler wrote, "There's little compassion to be found in Rusty Brown, because compassion requires curiosity, and Ware has worked out everything too carefully for that. You may not know the story in advance, but you know where it's headed, straight to Sad Town, population, everyone." Most critics have been much more generous than that. Nevertheless, as an assessment, it's not completely unfounded. One of the most unusual features of Rusty Brown is its use of such modernist techniques as narrative dislocation, streams of consciousness, and shuffled time frames. The order in which you're meant to read across the page isn't always obvious, and that may sometimes be deliberate. Having said that, perhaps one of the most perceptive comments on this book came from Tegan O'Neill in the Comics Journal. Whilst insisting that it's a masterpiece, O'Neill sees it as a genre medium transplant, translating the idiom of mid to late 20th century American realist fiction into the comics medium, where O'Neill thinks fits neatly into the tradition of the Updikes and the Roths and the Fransons of the world. One thing everyone agrees on is the superlative quality of the artwork. To be a genius in both art and storytelling may be too much to expect. At the very least, this book's got the artwork nailed down.